Okay, all right. Welcome again to Chaos Reign. Hello, everybody. For those that are watching, viewing for the first time, or existing watchers, welcome to another stream. This little topic that I came up with is not, well, actually, I'm gonna keep it real. I think I get tired of hearing this thing about the one dropper now that I'm really analyzing it as a whole. And this is my thing. And before I go into this, I'm gonna give you a few minutes before I start talking. If you're not subscribed to Chaos Reign, please do. Always leave comments to every video done on Chaos Reign stream. Also, as you come into the building, like the video. So please like. Also, the Cash App I will put in a few minutes into the chat room to support the channel. But this is my thing, because we live in society now, and we are Black people. Because this discussion really based and really is a reflection on us. I'm hearing so many of our people calling some of these children that come from two different racial parents. And it's not all, but a small percent of us, besides the majority that really is the numbers of this land we call America. They view children of two different race of parents and label that child not by biracial child, but depending on which the child comes from, they will probably most likely, on the average, because we live in America and there's white and Black, is the bigger issue. If you come from a Black parent, hold on a second. Okay. If you come from a parent that is non-white, if that parent is Black, then by the rules of the one dropper, you are considered Black in this society. Both status and other. And I might open the mic and drop the links for people to chime in about this one drop nonsense. And this is, to me, it's coming fruitless at this stage of the game. And the reason why I say it's fruitless, because we are not, as a majority, as a whole people, really in position of power to be sitting there saying, now we're going to just change the rules. That's not how things work. And what I mean by that things work, if we're going by the law of the land, a lot of our people do go by the same laws, then by default, if you come from one different racial parent, you are falling under that paradigm or that label from that one drop rule. I don't give a fuck what people said that, if the parent is so unquote white and the other parent non-white, now we gotta say that child is the byproduct of white. It sounds good, it feels good, but in reality, into regards to who pushes the or makes the rules or writes things into power for everybody to follow, and everybody has to follow because we operate in society, that is not the case. As I pull up my other device, I'm going to look for the chat room. Let's see. Okay. Try and position this thing here. Okay. I'm just doing something for a second. All right, perfect. All right, guys, I'm gonna look for the chat room now. I'm just waiting for my thing to load up. Okay. All right, I'm on here now. So I'm going to open up Discord and send out and put the links here. Okay, I'm doing it now. Before I continue. Bear with me for a second, people. And I also will share the Google Hangout link. It will not be put here. If you want the link to join, I will have to email it to you. So please send me an email. And as I wait, let me do this. And if anybody can hear me clear, loud and clear, please give me a notification, say something. Either say hi or something, so I know you're out there watching, listening. I feel this is somewhat important again to really keep, and this is my take on it, because it comes to a point in our society now, especially us race people, that we have really more important issues than about sitting there saying now we going by. Okay. To sit here and then to tell other people. Now, mind you, there are ways to go to really analyze a person that comes from two different racial parents to know if you're part of this race or not. That's not hard. But to sit there and say that, they come from one parent that's now you're going to put a label on, that's not logic. And the reason why I say it's logic because of that parent, either they knew or not what they're doing to engage into interracial or interspecies sex to produce a combination of two different races of parents. It's shown that some people, either they knew what they're doing or don't know what they're doing, end up producing this child. Can't demonize the child because all of a sudden now, because this child is from a different race of parent, now we can't put him in that box. Say you're this, you're bisexual, you're bi what do you call it? Not bi what's the word? You're hybrid, you're mix, you're all these stupid shit, Hell, it goes as far as we said we call them white boys or white girls. And the sake of this argument, why I'm saying these terms, because most likely when we look at interracial coupling, in America is mostly predominantly white and black by default. There are some other races like Asians, but we can't label the Indian or the Hispanic as one because if you look at the average Arab, they're a combination of mixture between black and white, where it was Greek and Romans or some other ethnicity, mostly dealing with black and white, that produced what we call the Indian or the. And I have people do the research on that to find out about that. Okay, I found the Discord service. So let me do this. Put the Cash App first, then Discord. Now I'm gonna babble a little bit on this because how you doing, Tyrese Mitchell? Okay. All right. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna send it. Okay. I will send that. You have Discord, Psycho? Yeah. As I send the links. I'm gonna send the links now. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm tired. Are we doing this again? Well, I had to get that. No. Okay. You should be using it, Psycho. But I'll email you the Hangout link. Give me a second. Let me just maneuver around here. I'm just waiting for things to just maneuver around here. Okay. And now I'm gonna send you a link now, Psycho, for the what do they call it? The Google Hangout. I'm gonna send you that. Let me just do that now. And as I wait, I put my cash up. Yeah, all right. So yeah, I'll see you there. Please contribute to the channel. As I wait for Psycho to get up here. I should do this earlier. I knew my systems were that slow. I would have corrected this. Okay, it's coming up now. And I might send one to JV if she's there. All right, Psycho. I send you a link. I'm gonna send some other links out here. Ashada, you know, I might. Do you want to come up as well, Ashada? Because this is something that I will open dialogue for other people to respond. Okay, as I wait. Let's see who else out here. Okay. I'm just gonna send a bunch of links. All right, who else is here? I should play some music instead of keeping an empty space, but I ain't gonna do that.
Peace.
Yeah. 1 second, Psycho. Give me 1 second. Matter of fact, if you're there, you could speak, Psycho. Come try and send some links out. Kind of want dead air.
Yeah, I got a Discord account and a server. I've actually had it for a few years. I never opened it up though to the public because I just, me personally, I just didn't want to run a Discord server because I've had a whole bunch of experiences running groups on MySpace and Facebook and everything else, and that shit is just a wearing job, and it's tedious, and I just didn't want to have to be, you know, just overseeing all the fuck shit that comes with running groups, because that's pretty much what Discord is. It's just a mobile group. You know, it's not, that's not really attached to anything. So it's kind of, it's a little bit better than a Facebook group, but still, it's like it's a group. You know what I'm saying? And I just didn't want to have to deal with running any groups or anything. It's a little bit of a headache. It's a whole lot easier on my mentals if I ain't running one. So that's the only reason why I never opened it up. But I had an account, so I got an account so I could bounce around other people's Discord servers, because I used to go over there and do debates and everything else years ago.
I see. I
still pop my head over there once in a blue.
I had it. I went and got it because of the help of the regime, and after signing up for it and using it, it did work on here when I ran the Hangout. Somebody calling that people could hear. Right. I did something wrong and it messed it up, but I was able to manipulate it a little bit. But people just don't mess with it enough. But it's kind of unique because let's say I ask somebody to hang out. The limit hangouts are 10 people. But I open Discord and I open it
like 30 people in the voice chat.
Yeah. The only issue is too confusing. Using if I add more people, because now I don't know who the hell's talking. Everybody's talking at once.
Right.
That's more disorganization with the Discord, but Discord is kind of useful. So I'm utilizing
it started off as being for gamers and shit. That's a lot of Europeans over that motherfucker. They gotta run that shit. But it's got some black people over there that do some things and everything else. But it mainly started off in the gaming community. It's built for gamers mainly, but people starting to branch out a little bit more with it and try to do more with it. It just ain't catch on in the hood yet, but it's been out forever.
I get you. Yeah, and that's one thing from other YouTubers said, that it has to catch up to a lot of people, and eventually, like I said, you, me, or anybody we do content here, these are things we have to utilize to kind of change up a little bit, with the limit. Because right now it's like you're an IT person, you're really on point with how you set your junk up. Me, I'm not really IT specialist, so I had to do what I can with the little resource I have. What's up, Sam? Semantic. So I make use of what little I have. I did pretty well.
I get it.
People question said, you gotta be brave running OBS on a computer. I said, well, I'm a person. I'm not afraid to try certain things.
Yeah. It's hard running OBS on like a laptop or whatever the case may be. The RAM ain't enough, and the processing speed definitely is going to hold you back. It's like, even if you do run OBS on a laptop, there ain't too much else you could probably do besides a regular show. If you try to do some of the stuff that like I do over on my channel, you'll never be able to do that stuff on a laptop. The laptop couldn't handle it.
It can't handle the speed. The too much processes have to go into it, especially when I think Valdez said when even doing it, when it's working, when you hear the systems making sound, what I'm saying? That it takes a lot of process.
Because the processor starts to kick in, and you're right. You'll hear the fan start working overtime because it'll start heating up. And the more the processor burns, the more it heats up and everything. You got certain things inside there to try to keep the temperature down. You got like certain coolant devices to try to keep the heating down on the processor, but and the fan and everything. But still, it's going to get pretty hot. And it's best probably, especially in the summertime, it gets rough because if you ain't got a nice cool spot, your computer just shut down.
Function AC, man. You need function AC and make sure your room is conducive enough to keep no heat or air coming out. So temperatures at certain degrees. Because when you run software, and people that's listening first time that's not technically savvy, y'all should know if you have any electric device, your computers function much better when you have a proper room temperature. You're not supposed to have your room or anywhere that's hot running technology. You're going to heat up and damage your systems.
Right. And you know, OBS just like Discord, it started off as a gamer thing. You know, OBS started off just as a gamer software that people utilize doing other things. You know, it kind of branched out, but it started off being just for the gamers. With all them Twitch heads, you know, Twitch is another gamer spot. But you know, a lot of this stuff started off with gamers first. They kind of just branched over. But yeah, let's get to the topic though. I don't want to turn this into a tech.
All right. Is that UQ? Who's this? That's in my panel as well.
You know who it is. It's the motherfucking general, and I'm back in full combat mode.
It was good, son.
What's going on?
And how you doing, Sam? Yeah, you know, the reason why I'm mentioning this because, you know, and I sit back and I have my views with this one drop nonsense. And you know me, Psycho, I'll be on your streams and I think I voiced my opinions on it a long time ago in this. I don't know if I can remember, if you can remember these little same conversation that you have sometimes on it.
You know, we talk about this a lot, so yeah.
Yeah, I just get to a point, I get fed. And I look at this and, you know, and much times we want to define it, and everybody has their own opinion, but when I look at the position where we are as people and we're not in an actual control power space, that, you know, these labels, you know what I'm saying? And no one saying either people know what the fuck they were doing when they produced these little hybrid children, you know what I'm saying? Either by love or don't know understanding, they're here.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
Some of them, even when we want to sit there redefine it, some of them won't have no idea. So what is that? You know, some, not all. Some do if they're around other race people, but when it comes to us, it's like, you know, crickets. And they just look at it and say, what? It's like speaking a different language. So I look at it as that, you know, the best way for most people to really distinguish these people or these persons that come from two racial parents, you sit back and you see where they at before you sit there and go through, give them any form of label, you know? Because once they show where they are, then it said, well, this is what I see you as, and nothing more, nothing less. But I'm not going to go out my mind and say, oh, you come from the parent. You're this. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I really,
there's a lot to do.
Yeah, I have to really now. I can't just sit there to start pointing serious labels right away. You know what I'm saying?
Why not?
Because now I'm creating a divide more. You know what I'm saying?
Divide was there when they was born.
Yeah, and it born by that same parent that decided to, you know.
Yeah, I'm saying they was born with a divide. That's not your problem. You know, that's not something you created.
And it's not their problem either. You know, the parents did that shit.
I'm not. Well, it's something that they gotta live with. I mean, it's not. I mean, you gotta live with being black. They gotta live with being mixed. I mean, that's just what it is. That's,
right.
That's the card that they dealt.
Right. So
you know,
here's a question.
I get that, Psycho. Oh, go ahead, Q.
So here's a question for you, Psycho. Right, Psychopathist. Why is it that you got all these other half-breed motherfuckers talking about these goddamn black orders and all this other shit when they're fucking half-breed mixed with
yeah,
that. No. I'm not shooting a shot at anyone. I'm just asking a question. I just asked a question.
I mean, I can tell you. Only thing I can tell you, Q.
Let me clear it up before you think I'm going somewhere with this. And I'm not shooting a shot at anyone. Let me clear that up first off. I'm asking a question because when we think of half-breed, we always want to go directly to the black and white issue. What about other motherfuckers that are mixed with everything else?
I feel the same way about them all. So yeah, you know, that's just so I'm with you. And me personally, I can only speak for me. A mulatto could never lead me in anything when it comes to black issues, or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying I could never get along with a mulatto. I could never speak to a mulatto, nothing like that. What I'm saying is, a mixed person could never lead me on any black issues or anything pertaining to anything black. A mulatto, never. They can sit back, listen, watch, whatever. If that's what they want to do. That's what I don't care. But they could never be in front of me in any black issues. Nothing. I'm not following it.
And that's just based on your culture, right? So what if you got in your terms? What if you got a mulatto, right, who was raised in the hood, and you got a dark skinned brother who was raised and just say suburban, white suburban, right? So
Mhm.
you mean to tell me like this dark skinned brother has more connection to black issues than that mulatto who stays in the hood? Get the fuck out of
Yeah,
here,
because
man.
because he's actually genetically black.
Yeah, okay, so we
Anything that
based
I'm
it on
fighting for
genetics.
is going to affect him directly.
No, it affects the mulattoes because they have a decision to make. They
All
can
right,
choose
so
what side they can join, and it's when they choose
wait,
those
who is
sides
this
is when
talking?
we have the fucking problem. When
Who is
Tiger
this
Woods
talking?
or Colin Kaepernick, these are two motherfuckers who chose two different sides. And you got Tiger Woods who was like, yeah, I know the black people are gonna like me and shit because I'm half black. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and play tennis and win these damn championships. Where you got a motherfucker like Colin Kaepernick or even Malcolm X who was biracial, who took
No,
the
Mike. Wait,
fucking
wait, wait,
knee,
wait, wait, wait. Pump your
or
brakes.
Frederick
Wait.
Douglass.
No, no,
You
no,
know
no,
that
no, no, no.
Yep.
I gotta
You
stop you
know,
because you're
hold
making a
on,
mistake. You made a
hold on.
mistake. Wait.
Hold on,
I
hold on.
got
Yep.
No,
to stop you
because you
right there.
basing this
I
shit
gotta
on
stop you
genetics.
right there
You
with the
basing it
Malcolm X
on
thing.
genetics.
Because y'all
You are
always
basing
do
it
that
on
whenever this
genetics,
conversation comes
Psychopathia.
up. The first thing y'all start doing is bringing up Malcolm X.
Max,
Malcolm
yeah.
X was not biracial. Let's get that clear.
Oh, first
But
of
they
all,
don't
he
know
had a mother
history.
who was
They
biracial.
Right.
don't know. He did
It
not. They
still
don't know.
falls into the same category.
They don't know history. That's why they make the dumbass statements that they make when
Yeah,
they talk about
Malcolm
some
X's
people.
mother was biracial.
Well, still in all, the same thing goes back to what Q said. You had people who were mixed with everything. Malcolm X wasn't mixed with white.
Here we go.
No, I'm just going
Actually,
about what
Sam,
you
let me tell
saying.
you something. Oh, guys, chill. Because I don't really know much about the two parents besides the picture of Malcolm X. But let's say his mother is biracial, right?
Yeah,
Still,
she's mixed.
okay, let's say it's, and this is where you could tell where they side by who they continue to genetic pool. A biracial woman, if she didn't really care anything about blackness, will go water down more. What I mean, they will copulate with somebody that is one part of their parent that's white person, because her mother's what, white and black. Biracial? What do you mean?
Her mother was black, and she got raped by a white dude.
Okay, so that tells you that from her, she coming out of that body, that shell from that rape, she's still by from the black side because she didn't sit there and copulate with anything white. No, her existence came from rape.
Malcolm X was washed
So
out.
now I'm saying that,
He was blackwashed,
but
man.
listen, no, it's not, because think about it, a biracial and a black person, because it's fine look like Hayel, but he's same thing. That's still producing a black person because they have not watered down completely the genetics.
All right. So
You know what I'm
once
saying?
again,
All
right, I
time
agree.
we stop. Go ahead.
Once again, let me show you. See, for motherfuckers who have not traveled, I don't know where you live at, but if you've ever been to the 5 boroughs in New York, if you've ever lived around, worked around, and been around biracial, black, and Latin, which Puerto Ricans, right? Their culture is totally different. Even though they look like us, a lot of them, yes, they do. Some of them even act like us, yes, they do. Their music and their culture is similar to ours, but at the end of the day, if they're black and Puerto Rican, for example, right? Guess who they're gonna side with? That Puerto Rican side is gonna always come out first.
Facts.
Always.
And I don't know about y'all, but I'm not cool with letting people decide what it is they want to be. I'm not going to sit here and interview everybody like it's a job every time I meet a mulatto to see what it is they identify as. I didn't get to choose whether or not I was black. I was born black. They didn't get to choose to be mixed, but they was born mixed. And so that's what they are. I don't understand why we always got to coddle these biracials and make it, oh, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings or all this other stuff. How you hurting their feelings? Like, this is what they was born as. They are what they was born as.
And I agree, psychopath is because it was a prime example on our Obsidian show the other night when you had a brother on there. I won't call any names because I don't want to shoot any shots, but he did make a statement. He said he is a biracial mix, right? So he said if he comes outside and the niggas are acting a motherfucking fool, he'll pull his white card.
Yep.
If he comes outside and the niggas are being and the blacks are acting, right, and they're doing what they're supposed to do, he pulls his black card. So you see, you got motherfuckers like that play in between.
Right.
That's the problem.
Those are the motherfuckers y'all need to be focused
on. That was on Obsidian.
There's a very important movie that you might want to check out.
All right,
and it was dealing with this.
Q, see that right there? This is what I'm talking about. That's where people show the actual colors. Now you hear that, Sam? This is one of the issues that people already distinguish. You know what I'm saying? and this is my thing with the issue with the interracial with these mixed children, right? Because of the side we're not in full control. Now they feel they could straddle the fence and play both sides. But in warfare, there is no two sides. Either you're over here or that. That's why a lot of them that show their actual colors, and they will show their actual colors, but in time. And that's why people want to. You don't know this is big cool.
That's why they're not black.
By how they go in time.
The second you can sit up here and make the distinction that you something else other than black on demand, and you could just snap your fingers and you something else other than black. That means you're not black to begin with. Like if you're black, you don't have that choice. You can't sit up here and say, well, you can't make wild ass statements like that dude said on Cydia's panel when he said, well, if they doing something good, I identify as black. But if they do something bad, I'm going to identify as biracial to the motherfucker. And he's not the only one who feels this way. He was just the only one who's bold enough to say it. So because we see it all the time. I mean, whenever these biracials get a certain type of status, they don't want to be black no more, not unless it's beneficial for them to be black. You know, if it's beneficial for them to be black, yeah, they'll play the black card. You know, like that dude, the dude from the reparations joint, that dude, the little young dude. Gets reparations. He's bicultural, whatever. Yeah, he's bicultural, whatever the case may be. Yeah. But he's another one though. You know, like they asked him in the interview, how come you don't identify as Puerto Rican and why you identify as black? He said because it's more financially, it's better for my financial situation if I identify as black other than Puerto Rican. So that's the only reason why he was even identifying as black. But yet he's up here supposed to be on HR 40 hearing talking about reparations. Why? You know,
because it benefits them. Those are the people that we should have problems with, man. I mean, you know how many motherfucking niggas.
But he spoke out against it. He spoke against it though. Bro, so how did it benefit? So why was he speaking against it?
And I feel you, man. But you know how many niggas that fucking around and left white women is fucking single mothers and shit. They got biracial kids and shit growing up. They growing up around all of these fucking white people, and they feel fucking ostracized because they the darkest one in the fucking group, even though they all light skin and shit.
So that's our responsibility. Is that our responsibility?
Yeah, but that's not our problem.
That's our responsibility.
That's the problem of that person that created that. That created that. That's not our problem.
How come that's our responsibility though? Why is it our responsibility that the white side of people don't want to embrace them?
The only other option is for them to fill out their job applications and put other biracial.
Right, but right? Other right.
Okay, and then that boils back to the problem that we all have right there. You know, the picking and choosing, the fact that they are able to choose. Africans do this shit. Africans choose black when it benefits them, and we worried about light skin. We worried about biracial.
I get on them for that too. I mean, I get on them. I get on them for that too. But guess what? When they filling out that job application, they're not picking other. They picking the black. They checking off the black side.
Okay.
They can not like it, but that's what they checking.
Shit.
You know, like,
hello, Art.
These motherfuckers is choosing African American, man. I mean,
what's going on, fam?
What's going on, man?
You know where the one drop rule came from?
Yes, of course. You know, the whole brown paper bag theory. Oh, even before that, you know, it's basically saying, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Either black people's blood is so pure, the dark skin fucking melanated man's blood is so pure.
No, it's not. It was not for that.
That's you putting a spin on it.
It could mean that they're not pure white. They're not pure white, so they are not white, so that they would be considered
right. That's the way it is. Like I understand you trying to put a spin on it, but God damn, it's raining like a motherfucker out here.
Over here too. You must be.
What it is though actually is the slave masters did not want to be attached to these mixed kids because they didn't want those mixed kids to be attached to any of the wealth of the slave masters once they passed on. They wanted to pass their wealth on to their white kids, not the mixed kids. So they didn't want anything to do with them. So therefore, they established this little rule called the one drop rule, where if you got one drop of black blood in you, you're black. So therefore, they don't have to be responsible for the kids they was making. And guess who took care of those little mixed kids? Guess who was the motherfucker? Guess who was stuck holding the bag with those mixed kids?
The black people, the slaves.
Right. Mainly the black men, because black men stepdaddies was their stepdaddies to these mixed kids, and they had to step up and take care of these mixed kids. When the massa who was in the house who created them wanted nothing to do with them. This is the type of shit, but everybody's cool with embracing it still with this one drop slave mentality, and I don't understand it. Like back then, it was something they put in place for the very reasons I just mentioned. But now in 2019, holding on to this bullshit ass philosophy is asinine. This is archaic. It's like I don't even understand it. It's the slave mind. We refuse to let go of slave traditions. We gotta let all that shit go. We'll let go of the pork from slavery. We'll let go of jumping over the broom from slavery. We'll let go of all kinds of stuff from slavery. When it comes to this one drop rule, we hold on tight to that thing, tight to it. We will not let it go.
Yeah, man.
And and the reason why people distinguish it, hold on or like let it go. Because by default, our people, we just don't like what we see in the mirror. So when we don't like what we see in the mirror, we'll go in far lengths to destroy that same image. You know what I'm saying? And we believe in every stereotype. Black is bad, black is ugly, and do everything possible to change it. Even go as far as try to erase it genetically. Because now we live in a very much amalgamated society, which they push very hard and will continue to push hard the next 40 or more years until you have this so-called tanning of America, or what we like call whitewash more of America. Okay, you don't see some people that might have tan or have white skin. It's one or the other. But I see Art. How you doing, Art? You have anything to discuss on this very interesting topic?
Just listening, and then want to chime in a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know if people like read J.A. Rogers publications.
I have his books.
And then, some of that stuff kind of summed things up quite a bit, but it seemed like people were ignoring that. I think a brother was on the panel, he's talking about picking and choosing. That's what it boils down to. And then sometimes too, some people get a little butthurt because basically since that person says, I'm not black, then they say, okay, well, since you're not black, then we agree that you're not black. I'm like, nature has to say, last say so, not what you choose. And then at the same time, this whole thing about blackness, is a social construct, like Dr. Francis Cress Wilson said. So it's just a matter of how you be able to recognize the person in his nature or her nature. Sorry for the noise in the background. I'll be multitasking. So,
okay.
That whole black thing, we use it, just so that we'll be able to communicate and have some kind of understanding with each other. But at the end of the day, you got to appeal to the nature of your people, because there's a lot of things. I'm liking everything. I'm not disagreeing with anything that what anybody said on the panel, but I think we have to start putting more things in there to reference, how this stuff began. So I'm glad that brother Psychopathus brought up the whole thing about the one drop rule, but certain things were in place before that. Because let's just keep it real. Anything that the white man touches, there's always some kind of tainted thing going on. So therefore, now we got to find our way back to where we can become someone untouched and untainted, and find our way back to who we are. I guess even to some respect to some of the mixed people too. If you notice, you got a lot of mixed or high yellow people always going for the dark people. My dad is a red-haired man with freckles, very light skin, grandma, Creole. Okay, so but the thing is, I'm a chocolate man because of my mom. That's why I kind of laugh with some of these arguments where it's like, okay, you don't know about these people's parents, and some of these lighter people have dark parents too that have, dark and light people. So the whole thing is that it's kind of hard to really determine things based on your skin color and your phenotype. I always say this in the blood. You check the blood, then you know who that person is.
Right. That's why I always talk about DNA. I don't just go off phenotype and skin tone. I discuss DNA. Me personally, some people got different percentages. I go with the 70% African DNA.
70% is the highest form. people could look at.
Yeah, 70% or better. And you know, if you can't crack the 70, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just not black. In my eyes, most black people in this country should have at least 70% if they black. Now, unless they're biracial. If they biracial, they're not going to crack the 70. And I don't, you know, that's just how the DNA crumbles. But that's where I'm at with it. So, you know, again, I'm not just throwing around, oh, well, you light skinned and you're not black or something like that. No, that's not the case. You got light skinned black people all day long. Malcolm X, again, was light skinned in my eyes, because I got a rule of thumb as well, because everybody always don't have a DNA test handy. So I kind of got a rule of thumb. You got to have at least 3 out of your 4 grandparents black. At least 3 out of your 4 grandparents need to be black. And if you only got 2 black grandparents, you're not black. Malcolm X had 3 black grandparents, therefore he's black. That's where the light skin thing starts to take place. That's when you turn from biracial to light skin, and then so forth and so forth and so forth. So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, I see where you're coming from,
Hey,
but at the same time, another component should be added in there, and I think that other component it should be culture. Just because someone is first generation biracial, I mean, it doesn't make them not black. You know, I mean, I honestly, I see where you're coming from, though. I really feel you. But it's just almost like someone else said on another panel, like, yeah, light-skinned people, yeah, biracial people, they can work for us. Yeah, they can lead the movement. But once they get everything together, hey, give it up to us black people. Let us handle it now, because we don't need you leading us. You know, and I mean, it's all based on us, like, okay, well, light-skinned or biracial people, they get the better benefits, they get the better jobs, they get the better roles, and, you know, we as dark-skinned black people, we're tired of this shit. We're tired of them being able to claim that they're African-American. We're tired of them being able to, you know, kind of like switch between both sides. And I agree with you guys. Those are the motherfuckers that we should have problems with. But there are some of them out there, they don't know what the fuck to do. You know, I mean, that's all they know is black culture. You know, they identify with being black. I mean, damn. And they're not trying to choose sides. Like, they hate the Halle Berrys as well.
I mean, we got to somewhat take some of that stuff off of the table when it comes to doing things with our people, because it gets too much shine. You know, it gets way too much shine. I mean, if you got those people that are sitting there, you know, trying to play both sides and say, well, you know, that whole Black and White song by Michael Jackson and Ebony and Ivory by Stevie Wonder, if you scratch your head who you are, you don't have time to, matter of fact, you don't have a seat at the table. I mean, there's no negotiation, you know. So if you one of them people, you know, help. I mean, we'll probably like ask you to do some donations and stuff like that. But as far as making decisions about black people, it ain't gonna fly. So, I mean, when we start making it to where everything is as a collective, as far as light-skinned people, I mean, let's keep it real. Let's go back to Louisiana. I just found out like maybe 2 years ago that they had high schools, I think it was in Shreveport, where it was segregated by skin color in the black community.
Yeah,
high school.
As far down as like Baton Rouge and New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Like yeah.
Yes. I forgot the name of the school because I was doing some work for this sister, and they said it even boiled down to some of the middle schools. So we're sick, man. So we gotta. And then what was so crazy is that the people that were lighter skinned got all the resources. I mean, you go figure. And the ones that darker got the hand-me-down.
That's by design.
And that's why
that's by design art.
Yeah, there's a movie that Halle Berry did called Queen by Alex Haley. I don't know if the story.
Oh yeah, Oz Nigra, the famous one. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Oz Nigra too.
Yeah, you know? And then there's another one called Feast of All Saints with James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I saw that.
Everybody should really take a pen and paper and study that secret. There was a scene there where, overall, when the mulatto male is born, they send him to Martinique or I think France somewhere to get educated. But if they have a mulatto girl, she has to stick around and become one of the ladies in a brothel. But at the same time, she's not in the field. And so her and it was Jennifer Beals, and I forgot this other lady. They were arguing right in front of the field worker, the field Negroes. And she said, I'm not one of them, I'm free. and then they both had eye contact, and it was deep because this lady that had to go to the brothel, you know, and pleasure all these Confederate soldiers and stuff and open her legs, you know, she felt she was free. But at the same time, she looked at the slaves that were picking the cotton and using the different tools. So, like I said, this stuff is handed down. Whether you darker or you lighter, you got to get out of that spell and take your people for who they are and let them come back to their nature. I mean, that's the bottom line, because it's slowing us down. It's really slowing us down.
Yeah, that's why I was distinguishing the difference between light skin and biracial. I don't view them as the same. I think that's another problem in our community. A lot of people look at biracials and just call them light skin, and then it gets conflated.
Yeah,
you got light skin, you got biracial. They are two different things.
Same with that motherfucker RBR. It's all about genetics with you. It's all about genetics. You know, it has nothing to do with culture. It's all about genetics.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's kind of fucked up. But I see where you're coming from with this shit. But that is kind of fucked up. We as black people, we need the fucking numbers. We need the numbers.
No, not if it's detrimental to us. Because I mean,
nigga, it ain't detrimental. It's only detrimental because you fucking mad because
Psycho. Let me step in. Psycho.
That's why you mad.
Sam, you gotta understand this. There's always quality before quantity.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody that we look at say we just need because we need them. No, we always look at the quality of person we have. We can't say we're going to accept everybody because, like you said in the earlier discussion, not everybody wants to be black. You know what I'm saying? And someone that comes to two different parents, most likely they go mostly side more to them side. So not everything is good to say, you know, we want everybody just the numbers. That's foolishness.
And I agree. There's a beautiful struggle with being black, man. You know, and when a biracial person chooses that beautiful struggle over the benefits, that is a phenomenal thing to me. You know, and those are the people that we need to fucking ride with.
I don't subscribe to that because that's that democratic way of thinking. That's that democratic way of thinking where everybody think we need allies. Everybody think we need allies. We need allies. No, that's not necessarily true. I don't hold the position we need allies because that's pretty much what you're saying. You're saying we need allies,
I mean,
so we should just count biracials as being black. And I don't subscribe to that. They compromise. I mean, they have dual loyalties. I mean, what you're doing is you're asking these biracials, which I think is unfair, but you're asking these biracials to get a whole nother side of them. You're asking them to forget, like, because you're opposing your blackness onto them when they're not fully black. They actually have a whole different side of them, a whole different future, a whole different outlook on life because of this.
One of them will not work. There's only two alternatives to that. One will not
work.
The other one
let's keep it real.
For them to say, okay, well, you know what? We are going to develop our own race. And then when that happens, I mean, what's going to happen to black people? You know,
no, they already did, fam.
Yeah, it's called the Creole. It's called the Creole.
Yeah, they already did.
Yeah, it's called the Creoles.
I mean, let's keep it real, though.
Fucking Indians, man. Like, yeah, they have a biracial fling.
They're a mixture, dog. They gumbo.
But at the same time, the average biracial person in America, you know, these motherfuckers got German in them, Russian, British. You know, Creoles are exclusively French.
But let's keep it real, though.
Still know, like these motherfuckers, I know a lot of Creoles. I'm from New Orleans. They're not putting Creole on that job application. These motherfuckers are putting black on their shit.
Yeah, the part that
whole culture of mixed people.
Yeah, I think the part that we have to consider, there are some of them putting in work, really putting in work.
That's what I was telling them before.
That cannot be recognized. I mean, I do understand that there are some people that play both sides of the fence, like I said earlier, but the ones that are putting in work, you know, you gotta make some kind of consideration because
now, these
you know the part.
I do.
Let them do the work.
I do. I do.
Let me finish.
I would tell them thank you.
Let me throw something in there.
I would absolutely tell them thank you.
Before I lose my thought.
There's a bunch of biracials throughout the course of history who's helped us out. I don't diminish what they've done, but that just means some non-black person helped us out. I mean, John Brown helped out black people too, but I'm not going to call his cracker behind black.
Right. So the thing.
I mean, I could go throughout the course of history and find a bunch of non-black people that helped out black people, but I'm not going to call them black just because they helped us out.
Right. Okay. Let me see if I remember. Okay, but the thing that I want to point out is that everybody loves a winner. You know, sometimes you always want to go on the winning
Oh
side
yeah.
for identification. I mean, if you think about the '70s, you know, I'm a Gen Xer, so I remember that damn near everybody wanted to be black. You know, everybody's wearing froze, putting lemon in their hair and stuff to make it
Right.
frizzy. You know, I remember that. And that's the thing is that at the end of the day, when you are trying to be the one that's supposed to be making a decision on what side I want to be on, you know, do you project yourself on the winning side? And matter of fact, are you choosing us for the right reasons? Because again, you'd even have light skinned people that are on the fence too, because, you know, I mean, we had these conversations where some people that are light skinned will say, well, I'm black, but I'm not black black. That's one. And sometimes they say, well, I'm black, but I'm mixed with this, but you got two black parents. You
Right.
know, but you always got to throw
Yeah.
mixtures in there.
Those are the wannabes. Those are the ones that they want to be biracial. You know,
So I'm like, you
Yeah, I
got a
got
whole
Indian in
bunch
my
of. I'm
family
trying to
too.
say, yeah, man, that's the famous one right there. But it's a whole bunch in this. Okay, I mean, some of us chocolate people got white great grandparents. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm
it's a
not a
whole
purist. I'm not a purist. Nobody in this country, most black
yeah
people in this country, unless you came from Africa, probably got some
right.
type of European DNA up in you, a small percentage or whatever. But that's why that's why I went back to my DNA percentages because that kills all that. Like that's why I said I'm not looking for somebody who's 100% African DNA or nothing like that. Nobody would be black in this country if I was on it like that. That's why I put it on 70%.
Now I got a good question for you guys. Now remember the spook that sat by the door? Anybody saw that movie?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember when
I remember watching the movie.
he told the I don't know if the guy was Puerto Rican mixed or whatever. He told him he had to pretend like he was white or something, and he started going off and saying I'm born black, I'm a die black, I'm black, blah blah blah. He was going off. The question I want to ask is, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
mean the way what he was saying, did he have some kind of legitimacy on his argument to
Well,
Mr.
well,
Greenlee?
let me put this disclaimer out there, right? Biracials that are Gen X's and older have a different mindset than the biracials that are coming up today, right? Like the biracials that are Gen X's and older, they really didn't have that whole option that these biracials have today. They kind of, there was no other in the box that for them to check. They had to check black. Like it wasn't. They didn't have. It wasn't this. Interracial dating didn't even become legal to what 68 or 67, 68, I think it was, right, or 67, one of those 2 years.
It was struck down 67, and it
was
take effect
67. Okay, yeah, it was 67. Right. That interracial dating became legal then, all the way around the board. So that's when, and that's Gen X age and everything else. So we kind of was like the last group of people that kind of was like where the biracials get born, they kind of was just accepted as black. But now we in a different mode now. If you pay attention to these biracials that are like 80 babies and younger, they got a different mindset. These are the ones that are popping up out of nowhere saying, I'm not black, I'm biracial, I identify as both and everything else. Like you hear the rhetoric coming out of the younger biracials is a little bit different than the biracials we grew up around and older, because again, this societal norms, biracials, I think they said biracial babies being born is up by a 10% clip from the 80s, right? I think they said only 4% of the kids that was born in this country back in the 80s was biracial. Now it's like 15% or something like that that's born biracial. So it's an explosion. Like that's a mass explosion if you're looking at the numbers. If you rating it off that, like it might not seem like much, but trust me, it's a big deal. It's noticeable. So this whole.
Go ahead, Sex. I'm sorry.
Man, you motherfuckers is tripping, man. I mean, shit, if that's the case, you need to get on the niggas and shit who having these fucking biracial babies. Y'all motherfuckers is tripping,
Well,
bro.
the one thing that I would say, and I have to. Well, let me say this real quick because I got to get out of here. One thing I would part with you with though is that I'm not in position to decide who's black, who's not. That's not me. Okay.
Yeah, neither am I.
So that's where I'm like, okay, well, I can say I am. I can speak for myself. I can validate who I am. But as far as someone else, that's between them and who created them. Now as far as You know, because basically that whole one drop rule or whatever, you know, sometimes it has little credence and sometimes it's full of crap. But it just depends on who that person is, what their mindset is, what their bloodline is, and what it's a whole bunch. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a whole bunch of things. But hey, I respect what you have to say too on that too, because they gave me another way of looking at it. But at the end of the day, you know, I would have to have them be able to determine who they are between them and who made them. And I'm done. I got to get out of here, fellas, but it's good
All
talking
right.
to you guys.
Yeah,
All right,
get on
peace,
the
peace,
ones who made them.
Peace.
All right, thank you. All right.
Yeah, well, I just don't subscribe to the whole transracial thing. You know, letting people decide what race they are and everything else. That's like a little bit asinine to me. That this is the only like we don't do this with anybody else. Like, let me ask you a question. And, you know, because we always talk this mixed up. We always talk of it's mainly we talking black and white kids, right? Most of the time, or maybe even black and Tiano Indian, Latino, so to speak. We you know, we'll talk about this, that, and third, but when an Asian person and a white person has a kid, what is that baby?
They still consider them white. See how fucked up that is?
No, that person, well, a lot of times that person be considered other or mixed or something. Now they could pass for white. They could be white passing. They could be white passing, but just because a biracial is black passing, don't make them black. But and just because that white passing Asian / European is white passing, like I don't know if you're a Marvel fan or not, but they got a show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's this chick on there, the chick on there named Sky, right? Like she's half Asian, half white, right? Now she's white passing, but she's mixed. She's half Asian, half white. You know what I'm saying? But she's mixed. Like she's not, and she acknowledges that. And people always call her that. And people say, you know, she's half Asian, half white, half Asian, half white. Nobody calls her pure anything. So, but with us, it's like, you know, well, no, you're black. You're black. You know, I didn't see. It's the saddest thing I be seeing is when I see black people argue with biracials. I done seen this. Biracials will tell them I'm not black, I'm biracial, and a whole group of black people will attack them, calling them black. But I thought we let them have a choice, because we let them have a choice and we let them decide willy-nilly on what they are, and they decide that they're not black. Why are we getting upset calling them black? That means they really don't have a choice in your head. That means in your head they're just black and that's just it. They really don't have a choice.
Oh, so before I start the conversation, wait, guys. Hello. 1 second. I'm looking at chat room. The Troop, as I know, wants to come on this stream. Would y'all want me to send him a link? I need yes, no.
I don't care. It's your hangout. I don't care. I don't mind.
Okay, I'll send you. I'll put it. If you're not a hangout, I'll send it. All right, go ahead. Continue. One second.
Now I think somebody was responding.
Oh, I was getting ready to say something. What's going on, y'all?
Peace.
Well, you know what? If they want to decide that they want to identify as biracial or mixed, that's fine. Because guess what? If they get their wake up call by the dominant society, they'll put them in their place, and they'll let them know real quick what they really are. Yeah, and I'm like, then I'm like, see, there you go. I'm not the one that's going. I'm like this. If they do that, I'm like, I'm just fall back. You're like, hey, if that's what you want to identify as, that is what you do. Because what I notice is that a lot of people who fall into that category, a lot of them tend to only fall into one side. Have you ever noticed that? Yeah. They'll either fall into whatever side will claim them the most. As a matter of fact, Ayesha Curry falls perfectly into that category. I did a video about her, and she was saying how when she was in Canada, because that's where she's from, because you know she's born, she has a true.
Her mother is from West Indies. I don't know if she's from Jamaica.
Well, her mother is. The thing is, her dad is black and Polish, and her mom is Jamaican and I think Chinese or Japanese or something like it. It's one of those. So she has a lot of stuff going on. Like
so her mother looks like a lighter skinned Jamaican. I get you. Yeah.
And basically, when she was in Canada, she was basically saying how she was like identified as, you know, black or something like that. So when she came to the States, because I think she went to North Carolina, that's when she tried to that's when the whole kind of culture for her changed up on her a little bit. And then she tried to decide, like, okay, what should I classify myself as now? I'm like, hold on, didn't you just say that you was black when you was in Canada? Now when you in the States, you're something else. So like, it's almost like, does she have identity issues?
That's why you need to put your foot in their neck. That's why those are the ones that need to be ostracized. Because I mean, even if you did say, okay, well, you know what, we're biracial, we're gonna start our own race, the numbers ain't there. You know what I mean? Still in all this, it has to do with being promoted. It has to do with them, you know, being able to be put on top of other races of people, particularly black people. That's what this all boils down to.
Well, you know what?
And dark-skinned people feel like these motherfuckers can play both.
Well, you know what it is. Well, you know what it also is. Well, you also know what it is. A certain group of people are genetically dying out. We already know who that is. Yeah. And what's the best way for them to reset themselves?
Right. Now,
they have to do it. They have to do it through the loins or through the womb of somebody else.
Right. And how can they do that without having those buffers? If they don't have those buffers, they can't do that. And that's what I'm saying, because they can't take a black person and make a white baby.
See, I don't believe they're trying to do that. That's why they have
wait. But they can't take a biracial person and make a white baby. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they need those buffers, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I said, like, to me, if you're black, you can produce a mixed baby or a black baby. You can't produce something that you can't produce a white baby. Yeah, if you're
white
black,
people
you
not
can't
trying
produce.
To do that. That's why you think they so harsh on abortion. They're trying to preserve their race. They understand that, hey, you know, white people are beginning to be a minority in the future.
Right.
They will definitely be a
That
minority.
means they understand. That means they understand that those biracials are not black. That means they understand that those biracials are. That means they understand the European that's up in that biracial, and they understand they can squeeze that black blood out to the point where the future generations are going to look straight white. They understand this. And this is what I'm saying. We can't keep thinking these people are black and they can make, because if we keep counting these biracials as black and they go have babies with non-black people, they are creating white babies. Like Halle Berry. Halle Berry's creating a whole bunch of white babies. And that's because she's biracial. But if she was a black woman, she wouldn't be creating white babies. She would be making mixed babies, but not white babies. But she's straight spitting out white babies. And like that, and there's a reason for that.
Hello? Yeah. And you know, it's funny you mentioned Halle Berry. You know, it's funny you mentioned Halle Berry because listen. You mentioned, it's good for you mentioning about Halle Berry because I know before she's married,
so she's not trying to do that shit.
Sam.
So I mean, you know, it just depends on the fucking person. It depends on the person.
Sam.
So you believe in transracial? Then you believe in transracial? You think people have a decision to decide what it is they are or not? You believe that?
You mean like Rachel Dolezal and her ditzy ass?
No,
pretty much, because that's pretty much what he's saying. He's saying Rachel Dolezal, because Rachel Dolezal isn't black.
We're talking about biracial women or biracial men. We're not talking about someone
but it's the same concept, though.
The reason why
you're telling me blackness is a mindset and not genetics.
Nigga, it's more
absolutely
than just
genetics. The mindset is being pro-black, and that's what you're trying to push. You're trying to push if a person is pro-black, then they automatically black. That's not true.
No, that's not, because they got more white people who more black than y'all niggas.
But she's totally not black. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what you're talking about is a mindset of whether or not this person for the people or not. Okay, biracials could be, biracials absolutely could be pro-black. I'm not going to argue with you about that. Biracials can absolutely be pro-black. I'm not going to argue with you about that, but that don't make them black. What you're talking about is a mindset, not genetics. I'm talking about genetics.
Bruh. They got white people that's more blacker than y'all, and that's by culture. I'm not talking about just culture.
More pro-black than who? Wait, hold on. You got white people more pro-black than who?
Man, look. You
okay.
Now, you know they got some wiggers walking around here with gold.
Saying crazy stuff. Because you say you got to go white motherfucker more pro-black than me. I challenge you to find that motherfucker. Get him up on here right now.
They got some wiggers out here who bust that ass. You know
yeah. You gotta bring one of them up there to prove that. That as a little
white motherfucker more pro-black than me.
That's new.
Well, hey, Psycho, you were talking about John Brown earlier.
What's that white guy's name?
He ain't more pro-black than me.
Fucking High Learning. What's that white guy's name? Who played Remy on Highlander? Like the saying he said, I'm more blacker than you. By culture though.
What you say?
They got motherfuckers out here.
Who?
I just named one.
I can't hear you. What'd you say?
From where?
I forget the guy's name. What's his name? Michael Rappaport or some shit.
Oh,
Michael
please,
Rappaport.
are you serious? Are you serious? Are you
Are you
serious?
serious?
Culturally,
serious?
culturally, the
Culturally how?
motherfucker is more
Culturally
black than
how?
a lot of you
That
motherfuckers.
motherfucker grew up in the fucking East.
Oh, guys, mute up for a second.
That motherfucker grew up on the East
Like,
side,
oh,
right?
on, guys. Like, guys.
He got him a black woman.
Sam,
Motherfucker just said
Sam,
Michael
got a
Rappaport
black
don't
woman
black
on
to be.
top of
I
that.
gotta check
Sam.
on this.
Wait,
This
Psycho.
nigga got a
Sam,
black woman.
Sam,
This nigga got a black
hello.
Lost his
woman.
mind.
Sam,
Hey, crew, what's up? That's
Sam.
what?
Yeah, lost
Hello?
your mind over there. Who you
Hold on,
protecting right now? Who you
guys.
protecting? Because you obviously protecting somebody. Because you said some wild shit. Michael Rappaport grew up.
I'm just telling you how it is. It's not
Chaos,
that.
can I
I'm just
respond to
telling
you
you what
there?
it is, bro.
Michael
let me
Rappaport.
ask them
Let's just get one at a time, guys. Get one at a time.
Can I respond to this wildness? Michael Rappaport grew up on the motherfucking east side of
I'm Psycho. Hold on. Sam, relax for a second. I want everybody to be silent for a second. You there, Sam? Open your mic.
Jeez. Can I respond to that? Chaos?
Hold on. Wait. You can respond. I want him to. You there, Sam? Sam.
Yeah. What's up?
All right. Let me say this. Before you respond, Psycho, I want you to explain in clear detail how this man is more black than anybody else. Now I'm gonna let you respond, Psycho. Go respond. Let me explain. Lay it all out.
I said culturally, man.
And I'm now can I respond to this culturally thing? Exactly. He said culturally. This motherfucker grew up on the east side. He grew up on the east side of fucking Manhattan. Ain't nothing but fucking white dudes down there. That shit's a fucking tourist site damn near. He's right. He grew up right down there by Times Square. I know where the fuck Michael Rappaport grew up. He ain't grew up around all these. The black motherfuckers he found was when he went to the fucking maybe to the basketball court and the black motherfuckers came down from Harlem and played ball with him and shit like that. He ain't had black motherfuckers in the neighborhood. He ain't grow up in Brooklyn. That motherfucker ain't grew up in motherfucking. He ain't grow up in Queensbridge. He ain't grow up in North New Jersey. That motherfucker ain't grow up in Jersey City. I grew up in the Northeast just like that motherfucker. And that motherfucker, I'm telling you, he ain't more culturally pro-black than me. You crazy. Yeah, that motherfucker wasn't marching. That motherfucker wasn't marching up and down Springfield Avenue trying to trying to get these cops motherfucking locked up, killing motherfucking babies in the backseat of fucking cars. He ain't do that shit. I did that shit. What are you talking about? More culture? What did Michael Rappaport fight for? What did he fight for?
It ain't about fighting, bro. I mean,
exactly. So how you gonna say
exactly? So he's not.
There are a lot of white people who do fight for black causes and shit. Not saying that I fucking take up for them and shit.
You
but
tripping?
The way I look at
hold on.
The way you guys look at
biracial. You got biracial kids or something? You must got biracial kids, biracial somebody in your family or something, because you tripping right now.
Yeah, I sure do, nigga. What?
All right, well, so they not black. They not black. You got that means you got non-black people in your family. That's what that means. If that gets you up in your feelings, I don't know what to tell you. I got
I'm not up in my feelings. I got niggas up in your feelings because these motherfuckers is getting more residuals.
I'm not going to trick.
That's what this boils down to. You guys feel like these motherfuckers can play both sides whenever they want to. You feel some kind of way about that shit, and it's understandable.
No, I'm about debting the slave mind. I'm about debting that slave mind that you walking around with right now. You refuse to kick that shit out of it because you indoctrinated. And I'm trying to show you, but cognitive distance is kicking in right now. Saying all that
motherfuckers who be, Africans are black. Africans are black.
You can't elaborate what I'm saying right now because it's fucking with your brain.
Damn Nigerians are black. Y'all the same motherfuckers who argue with me.
I don't care where they born at. I don't care where they born at. If they got
biracial conversation,
one black parent, all they got, they biracial. If they only got one black parent, I don't care where they was born at. I don't care if they was born in Holland. If they only have one black parent, they mix.
Yeah, they are.
This ain't even about America.
They are. But you guys are talking this one drop rule shit. All right.
Yeah, Psycho.
Yeah.
Well, no, you guys can continue. I don't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
No, you good. Go ahead. What's going on?
Let me chill, man. Let me just go ahead and let y'all go ahead and talk, y'all. Let me go ahead and let y'all talk this shit, man. I'm chill.
Well, I would say this.
I'm going to chill.
From what I heard out of both you guys are both making valid points. I mean, I kind of agree with you guys both, and then I disagree with you guys both. Psycho, you say that it's like, okay, can mixed people be a problem? Hell yeah, they've proven that they can be a problem. That's like historically documented. But they also can be allies and be good for the Ados tribe. It's not just because if you have one black parent and one non-black parent that you're going to be that you're automatically going to be a problem, and it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be some asset to the ADOS tribe either. It kind of depends on the individual. And are there white people that have died for black causes? There has been. That's documented too. And so there's white people that will donate money, protest in the street, help get legislations passed for the ADOS tribe. Are they pro-black? I think in a certain respect they are pro-black, but that doesn't mean they're more pro-black than anybody else on this panel. So when I look at this, when I look at blackness, it's a social political construct. It's not really even about your skin color. It's not about DNA. That's not truly what it's about. It's about a culture that's been set up to usurp power from the ADOS tribe. And as soon as you're labeled as black, you already got you're up against the gun. And so, as time goes on, these racial classifications are going to be less and less important. And they're going to, and they've always meant something different, right? Whiteness has always meant something different depending on the generation. Blackness has meant something different depending on the generation. And as time goes on, that's still going to evolve. So what I'm hearing, like with Psychopatheus, he's kind of got this, like a very strong pro-black Gen X mindset when it comes to what blackness means. And I understand that. I understand him. I get where he's coming from. But I think as time starts to evolve, like that concept of blackness changes, and that bothers people. And that's kind of what I'm hearing in this conversation.
Yeah, well, the whole social construct thing, yes, black is a social construct just like race, right? My problem with using the social construct argument is in society, everything we do is based off social constructs. Every time you whip out your credit card, that is a social construct. Anytime you stop at a stoplight, that is a social construct. We are surrounded by social constructs, but the only time social constructs get dismissed is whenever we talk about race. And that's when it starts to become disingenuous, because in society, that's all we have to live off of is social construct. That's what makes us different between us and wild animals, right? Is the fact that we can build societies. And in order to do that is to build these social constructs to live under. So, again, so race is never going anywhere. Let's not get that twisted. That's that post-racial rhetoric that I think is detrimental to us, because it lulls us to sleep. And like, while we sitting up here acting like race isn't a thing anymore, they're running around. They understand race is a thing. Donald Trump is in office for a reason. Let's not get it twisted. Those white nationalists got Donald Trump in office. Those crazy alt-right white nationalists, they're the ones who put the hype machine behind Donald Trump. They're the ones who threw the battery in Donald Trump's back. That's the audience he catered to. So let's not get it twisted. Race is absolutely a thing, and it is not going anywhere. I'm sorry, it just isn't.
Well, okay. Let me challenge that. Just a couple things. When we talk about a social contract and we talk about a social construct, we're talking about a social contract. So if we're going to talk about, let's say, like you brought up debit cards, right? Well, if that's a social contract, but that's a social contract that everybody agrees upon. Everybody goes, oh, money, your debit card, your banks, all this is how we buy and sell, right? Instead of bartering or, instead of selling cherries off our trees, we use money and we get paychecks, and we all agree to that. When it comes to the thing with the construct of race is that people don't agree. Like just like right here, like none of us all agree about race the same way. And the reason we don't is because it's very malleable. It's always changed. It's gonna change. And so I just don't look at it in these concrete terms. Now, will race always be around? I think to some degree it will, because it's part of the culture. It's ingrained in the culture. So, for me, I just look at like mixed people. Can they be a problem? Can they be something good? I think that the answer is yes to both those questions. But I think as a black man, and like you were saying, Psycho, you're like, we need to get off this slave mindset. I'm with you on that. I think we do. And I think part of that is owning what it means to be black. Whether we weaken what it means, or we strengthen what it means, or we improve what it means, but getting a hold of that so other people don't do it for us. And that's kind of what I'm hearing you doing, which I support. And that's one thing I like about you, is you're real fiery about it. But I think I don't think we need to be fearful of what mixed people are going to do. I think it's more about controlling the narrative and asserting our power, because as black men, we have that power. And so if we need to have these type of conversations as long as they're civil.
Yeah, I agree. This conversation is absolutely important. That's why I love talking about this, because I think it's something that is a taboo topic that we always kind of sweep under the rug, and that's why a lot of people don't know how to handle this conversation whenever it comes up and emotions start flying. But I agree with you to a certain extent as far as it's very important that we identify ourselves. I do on the other hand do feel like we absolutely do have the power to identify ourselves, because a lot of people think, like this is a waste of time. The one drop rule been around for so long. This is just what everybody's going to accept and everything else. I disagree with that. When my parents was coming up, right? They both was born in the Jim Crow South, and when they was coming up, black people was called colored. You know what I'm saying? Then the 60s came around, they fought in the civil rights and all that stuff, and they fought to be called black. And now that's a thing now. Now we known as black. And then, but somewhere in between there, in 1986, Jesse Jackson and them said, no, we don't want to be called black. We want to be identified as African American. So now if you go look at the applications and everything, you see African American on there. So we absolutely have control as far as identifying ourselves. We've done it already before.
Yeah, now y'all got Africans out here calling themselves African American.
What happened?
I said, now y'all got Africans out here calling themselves African American.
Well, that falls into the whole ADOS conversation, right?
Yeah,
that falls into the whole ADOS thing. That's another thing that people also are trying to identify. So we also try to identify ourselves there. But first things first, we gotta establish who's black and not, and then we can get into the ADOS thing and all this other stuff and everything else. But
so biracials ain't ADOS?
Huh?
Biracials ain't ADOS?
They could be, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they could be.
There.
It's not impossible. It depends on their lineage. Yeah, they could be ADOS, absolutely. But again, like my whole thing about
let me ask you a question. Why is it important that we figure out who's black or not? Why is that important?
Well, for me, it's important for self-identification, and also for people to understand what it is that they're creating if they do decide to sleep outside the race. We need to establish that if you're sleeping outside the race, you are not creating black kids. You are creating mixed kids. And if you're cool with that, that's fine. But I just don't want people, because most people that are dating outside their race, in their heart and hearts, believe they are creating black kids. So they don't, and in my eyes, they are not. So I definitely want to let them know that before they make that decision, understand that this is what's going on. And then if that's what you want to do, then do you. I can't police people's shit. I just want to let them know that this is how I see it, and not just me. A whole bunch of other people see it, because it's a new mindset that's starting to really pick up steam. And I just want people to understand, when you're creating these mixed kids now, we not going to accept them as black anymore.
Well, hold on, but you're saying two things now, because you're saying like a few things. One thing you said is that it's important to be black to be able to identify yourself. But then, but you're talking about it's important to be able to identify other people. And so I look at this like, I've got a biracial daughter. I don't even call her biracial. Her mom's got European ancestry, and I'm ADOS. I'm an ADOS individual. And really, I really stopped really strongly identifying myself as black when I started to listen to Neely Fuller. When I got into Francis Fresh Welsing and Neely Fuller, especially him, he really did a great job of articulating what that black classification is all about. And I'm sure you know all about him. Mm-hmm. So when I look at that, I say, well, I ask you this. What if there's 50,000, mixed children that are born, and those children embody black excellence, and they go, I want to go to a HBCU, and I want to work in black institutions. I want to build black institutions, and I want to support black ADOS institutions. Would you tell those kids to say, no, you can't do that, you're not black?
No, I'm not. I never said biracial.
Nah, he gonna let them.
I never said biracial. I never.
I'm just asking.
I never held the position that biracial.
Build it first.
I never held the.
Like, oh, yo, you gotta go now.
Can I answer the question? Yeah, he asked me the question. I can answer it. I never said biracials couldn't help us. Like I announced earlier in the stream that they already have in the past. It's a long history of it. I'm not saying they can't help us in the future or whatever. The biggest help they can do for me, if you want to keep it a buck, the biggest help a biracial can do for me is find them a black mate and have black babies instead of finding them a white mate and having white babies. That's
yeah, I was gonna say that too, because if a biracial person marries a black person, practices in black customs and traditions and music and dance and art and all that, goes to, works at and goes to school at black institutions, they identify themselves as black. I mean, I think we can all agree that they're black, right? That would make you a black person despite having one parent with European American ancestry. And a lot of black people don't do all those things. You might not live in a black neighborhood or work at a black institution or went to a HBCU or none of that. You would still be considered black. So, I just look at this, I just say, where I really agree with you at, though, is that if a biracial person marries a white person or, and has kids with white people, their kids are going to look white. And so I don't necessarily have a problem with that per se, but then it's like, then it's hard to see them as black right there. And like, if your kids would look that white and you're married to a white person, I'm not going to say they're not black. I can't necessarily say that, but it sure looks like their kids aren't black.
Yeah, the kids aren't going to be black. Kids going to have more European DNA than African DNA. That's just reality. So yeah, that means, like, that's why I said, like, I always like to ask people, because people get problems with my numbers and everything. Well, 70%, I don't like the 70% stuff and this and everything. So I always ask them, so what's your cutoff point? What's your cutoff point? Because at some point in time, it has to be a cutoff point, because you just brought up a case of the biracial having the kid with the white person or whatever. The kid's going to come out looking white. So, but some people still might try to call those kids black. Like, I've done heard people try to say Halle Berry kids are still black. And I'm like, you're tripping. You look at those kids. Like, so, it's like, there's no way you could, like, so what's the cutoff point? So it's
I agree with you, but that is the one drop rule, right? I mean, you got white passing people. You got white passing people of all demographics. You got a lot of Latinos. They're like, I'm not white. I'm just white passing. And that's something I heard maybe in the last 3 or 4 years. Have you heard of that term, white passing?
I'm Afro-Latino. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. It seems, I think, though, what's most important, and this is one thing I would like to see, like, to me, the term black is built to lose. As the Eidos tribe, I don't know that we want to keep calling ourselves black for the simple reason that we live in a former white supremacist slave colony. The whole reason to be black was to be a victim of white supremacy. That's why we went from like Negro and nigger to black to colored to Negro, to African American. It's we're trying to bounce around and escape being this target. And what I would like to see, this is what I like about Eidos so much, is because, I take pride in our ancestors that survived slavery and went on to thrive and do great things, and that we're still here. Like, they beat back Mexicans and Asians weren't allowed in this country. Native Americans are down to 1%. And I'm not trying to hate on them, but I'm saying we're here and still in large numbers and putting it down. So I take pride in our tribe and what we survived. And I love this phrase, Eidos. And I think as black men, we need to celebrate our tribe and associate it with excellence, Eidos excellence, black excellence. I think if we do that, right, instead of being in the mud and these low-level conversations on what it needs to be black and nigga this and all this, and you don't do that, Psycho, you're not into that. But what I'm saying, though, if we could really focus what it means to be black into something, more positive, more fulfilling, more strength, I think that's a rising tide that lifts all boats.
Let's focus on the black excellence thing real quick. Now, if black excellence is deemed as Obama, which a lot of people will tell you, including RBR, he hangs his hat on that. Like, you can't get bigger black excellence than Obama than that motherfucker. So you got Obama as the face of black excellence.
Obama is
who's clearly biracial. That's a problem.
Either.
That's a problem, because now black excellence is deemed as something that has European DNA in it.
We already have
European DNA, motherfucker. He is not Eidos. He's not Eidos. If they came out with reparations right now, Obama wouldn't get a fucking dime.
He's
Well,
trying
I'm
to
not
bait
talking
us,
about
though.
I'm not talking about reparations right now. I'm just talking about in general. as far
Nigga,
as
he
black
ain't.
excellence.
He doesn't come from slave ancestry.
Hey,
We're not
Sam,
talking
let me
about
run
that
this
right
by you,
now,
though,
though.
Sam.
Yeah,
There's an
you
article in the New
He's
York
not
Times. You can look
fucking
this up.
black.
Sam, though, check
He's
this
on the
out.
black
If you go to the
man.
New York Times, there's an article. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's misinformation. I don't know. But it was an article in the New York Times, and they were talking about Obama's ancestry, and he has slave blood actually on his mother's side. His mother has slave ancestry back to, like one of the first boatloads of slaves that came over, according to this article.
Man, y'all believe them fucking articles if you want to.
Well, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's in the paper.
But let's get to the premise of what I was saying though. Like, if Obama is deemed as black excellence, and black excellence is deemed as something that has European DNA in it, that's problematic for me, because I don't want Obama to be the face of black excellence. I don't want anybody who's mixed to be the face of black excellence. You know,
why do you say he's the face of black excellence? I never thought that.
No, but a lot of people do, is what I'm saying. A lot of people do look at him as the face. I mean, he was the president of the United States, so a lot of people are going to view him as the face of black excellence. No other black person can say that. So that's going to be deemed that way.
So you think that Obama is bad for the black community?
I'm not an Obama fan. I thought
fucking right. Yep, damn right.
I mean, politics aside, I'm not saying his politics were great for the black community, but I mean his presence in the United States, the way. Okay, let me tell you, I was talking to a university president. It was a college president, and he told me before he was elected, he goes, "I think that Obama, I don't know what he's going to do politically, but the fact that you got a black man in the White House, he's gonna make the entire country look at black men in a different light." And I tend to think Obama did that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was wrong, but I tend to think
and
that's true.
What he did to make America look at black people in a different light. Can you explain? Elaborate?
Because there's always been an issue with black men being empowered, like being on the job, and you get too many brothers working together in some section of the office or on the warehouse floor, and they try to break that up, and people are uncomfortable seeing in positions like quarterbacks, for example. Back in the 2000s, right? In the 2000s, I would have conversations with people, and I'd ask white guys this. I'd go, "How come you think there's only a couple of black quarterbacks in the NFL?" "Oh, well, it's because, they're real athletic and they scramble out of the pocket, and those type of quarterbacks don't do real well in the NFL." And I'm thinking, like, but every other position we could dominate but quarterback because black people are athletic. I said, think about this. Is it that, or is it that white coaches don't know how to, first of all, they don't see black men in positions of leadership, and they don't hire them. They don't put them in those positions starting in, middle school and high school and then in college. So they don't ever mature. There's no pipeline to see black men in leadership. So it's a guy like Warren Moon. So now once you get somebody established, like a guy like Warren Moon, then Warren Moon comes in. Now you're getting your Randall Cunningham, right? And then so forth and so on. So the same thing, I think, works with Obama. Whether you like his politics, and I don't think most black men do, I think his example, right? It's what do you call that? He's modeling. He's modeling a black professional, black excellence, and black leadership that people can actually get behind.
All right, let me say something.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Like, before you say something, let me say something. You gotta understand this. The European doesn't want to see no other race of people in leadership but themselves. To put other race people, especially black men, in position of leadership, it brings a self-esteem to that black person, which will spread to other black men to know so we could be in leadership. And it starts with one or many. And what you see end result, you see black men don't want to be on the foothold of other race people because they know they could be the leader and do hell of a better job than what is given to somebody that's perceive that you can't be a leader. You gotta stop waiting for this validation that say you're looking for them to say we're gonna put you in position because you're a leader. No, you lead by example and you lead pushing forward. The NFL is controlled by billionaire European men, aka white people. And for them to have their own people still participate in the sport besides ownership, they gotta have a few of them still play certain positions in that sport. Because if you look at the percentage who really is dominating football and basketball, it's still mostly black men, last time I checked. So to put them in all fields of positions, you're going to have a more darkening of the NFL. run by Caucasians. So it's not the coach didn't want. Phil said this black man can't do it. In his mind, he sees that, yeah, you could do it, but I don't want you to do it. Period. Because it brings, like I said, we deal with self-esteem of black men. A lot of black men in this country feel that they can't be in no leadership. That's why they behave a certain way. That's my answer to it.
Agreed. Well stated. Well stated. Psycho, do you have like negative experience? Have you ever had negative experiences with mixed people where you saw them shitting on dark-skinned people or the Ados tribe or not claiming their blackness? Like, what? Because you talk about this probably more than anybody I've ever heard before, and I'm just wondering, like, what's the genesis of this? Have you had these experiences with mixed people that were sour at some point?
No, I never had no personal bad experiences I could say that triggered me with any mixed people or anything like rhetoric and seeing. I just pay attention. I'm very observant, and I just see how biracials move in and out the community at will, and nobody and they just allowed to do this. And it's kind of like, you know, without any approach, like everybody's kind of like, you know, kind of just, you know, very passe when it comes to this topic. And then, you know, whenever I mention it, because I've always had these feelings, you know, this isn't something I just discovered when I got on YouTube. You know, I've always had these feelings about biracials as far as like viewing them as not one of us per se, you know, kind of like us, but not really, you know, like I've always had that ever since I was a kid. You know, so it's just like I just, you know, and I see how we put these biracials on a pedestal and we always push them in the front, and they don't always have our best interests at heart, it seems like. And I just, like I said, I just noticed certain things, and it's just, again, and then I you know, after doing, once I started getting older and started doing more research to find out how it is that they just automatically black, and how are they not just automatically white, because they got just as much European DNA as black DNA, you might as well say. But and it's like, but nobody considers them white. So that's when I started discovering the one drop rule and where it came from, and how it's just kind of just stayed, and I always started wondering how come nobody's challenging this. So, you know, it's just kind of just something I just, you know, did my own independent research on, and, you know, just started seeing it as problematic.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Thanks for sharing.
No doubt. I see we got somebody new on the panel.
Yeah, that's Judge. How we doing,
That's
Judge?
right. What up?
How's everyone doing?
All right.
Doing well.
That nigga. Judge Dre, right? What's up, bro?
How are you doing?
What's good with you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there.
Long time no see.
Yeah, man. Been nice.
Yeah.
Hey, working my ass off.
I usually catch you over on that nigga Suge panel and shit. Yeah, I can see you over there and shit. You still been all right over there, huh?
Yeah, I go over there occasionally.
Yeah, I know.
Lately, every time I've had a time to go over there when I could, I could never get on the panel.
I see how you move around and shit, man.
I go a little bit of everywhere. You know? I don't take sides in arguments, so I go a little bit of everywhere.
All right, that's what's up. Go ahead, lay in on this.
Well, what is the topic? I only came in and heard the tail end of it. I just actually woke up and saw the link you had sent me.
The one drop rule.
Oh yeah, I mean, black people don't realize if they ever any black person that doesn't believe that the one drop rule is in effect, let you piss off the right person.
Oh no, that's not the debate whether or not it's in effect. It's whether or not, you know, do you accept it? Do you reject it?
Oh, I mean, I accept it because I know that they accept it. The one drop rule is in effect to them. Now, I do admit, if you one of those ones where they can't tell that you got black in your family, you can still get a pass. When shit hits the fan, that's when it's going to be accepted. You know, they're going to realize you black. You know, black people who don't sit up here and don't think that rule is not in effect, they're in for an unpleasant surprise. You know, but I will admit, if I did, like, say, if I was a light-skinned black person that could pass for a white, I would probably go ahead and pass for white. Yeah, I hate to say that.
Oh wow.
There's just too many, especially as a male.
As a
There's
way
just
of
too many.
survival.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I got to be honest. It's too many. I mean, think about it. You got a better chance of getting a job. You got a better chance of. I mean, when you sit up here and think about the stipulations that black people just have, there's certain things that you can't do. Like if you look at some of those black people who have been killed unarmed, especially when you see that like a lot of those people get pulled over for moving, not even a moving violation, like a tail light out, a registration sticker expired, and that can lead to your death. You know, white people don't, when white people sit up here and say that they don't have a privilege, what are you talking about? You do have a privilege. You can get stopped by the police and don't even have to. There's not even a threat in your inkling in your mind that this could end tragically.
Just all right. What you just said about if you could pick to be white, if you was in that position and you could pick to be white, you would.
Unfortunately,
on a
listen,
personal level, I find that problematic. But I'm gonna remove my personal feelings from that. I'm gonna move my personal feelings from that, and I'm just gonna say that with you saying that, you understand that a lot of biracials feel that same way, right?
Yeah, I totally understand. But see, you gotta look. Wait a minute. Let me finish. I
wasn't done yet.
30 seconds, and you can have the flow.
Let me finish before you respond. Now,
right. But I'm about to walk in the customer's house. I'm gonna be listening still. So give me 30 seconds. I'll let you have the floor. What I'm saying is this: sometimes you may not want to sit up here and be like, "Oh my gosh, I would never do that." But if you knew that, wait a minute, if these people thought I was white, I could have this job making $100,000 a year, and I could do better for my family members and the people I love. Or if these people knew I was black, they wouldn't give me the job at all, and I'll be sitting here working, making $30,000 a year. That's the reason why I can understand with some of them doing that. So sometimes it may be.
But you don't see that problematic for black people.
It is fucked up. It's definitely fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's like,
definitely, because it's fucked up that it's fucked up that the society has that black people aren't equal. It's really fucked up because sometimes that could be the deal on somebody eating and not living, you know, and not being able to provide for their family. It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I get you, man. You know, you want to be white. You'd rather be white to join the white man's structure and work for the white man. It's his corporation. You know, he provides the benefits. He provides the rules, the punishment, and the benefits. I get it, man. Hey, man, leave that motherfucker down there, man. No, not this nigga, man.
Oh,
this
shit.
motherfucker here.
You let him in, Chaos?
Yo.
Bring the truth up.
Yeah.
You should be hilarious.
RBR. If the truth's too much, I'll leave.
RBR.
Yes.
You there?
Yes, the truth is here.
I'm 2 minutes to respond since you asked to come up here. And normally I don't bring you on my stream, but I'm gonna hear what you have to say. Yeah. Go ahead. Everybody be quiet.
Yeah, well, first of all, the problem that I have with the Negroes with the 16th century one-drop nonsense is they didn't have DNA tests then. They didn't have science. They didn't have a 99.9% certainty that a person's race is from their biological father. We didn't have the science that was well enough that we could tell what race somebody is. We just had to go by whether they were lying or what they looked like or what who thought white people were superior and all this other nonsense. And so we didn't know definitively what someone's race was. Now that we know what someone's race is, that it's the race of your biological father, why lie about it? If the brother judge thinks that if he looked white, that he would be Chinese, that's not true. If you are black, whether you look black or not, you're still black. So what does it mean? It means you have the benefit of 4 million years of African DNA. It means that you run a little faster. It means that the melanin makes your the information move up the spine and to the brain quicker, so you have better reaction time. It means that you have a deeper memory, a longer short-term memory and a longer long-term memory and muscle memory, and it gives you an advantages, 4 million years of African evolution over people who don't have that. Now, that doesn't mean that people who don't have 4 million years of African DNA can't lie to you and tell you they're superior and tell you that you can't go out and start your own business. You have to get a job for somebody who hates you because you black. All right. It doesn't mean that. They can lie to you. They can get you to elect Donald Trump. Okay. But it doesn't make you white to just lie and wish and hope and pray that you wake up one day and you become white. And if you kiss a white woman and you marry a white woman and you have sex with white woman, that doesn't mean you get to go back. You have to go back and change your birth certificate from black to Chinese. No, you still black, no matter whether you kill Ron and Nicole or not. Okay, whether or not you date somebody white or not. So what the argument that I'm making that people don't understand is we're not trying to punish people because their father dated somebody white or married somebody white or had sex with somebody white. We discourage all kinds of self-hate, all kinds of selling out, but we do not lie about people's race. If you are born black, you are black. If you are born white, you are white. If you are born Asian, you are Asian. There's no such thing as somebody who's half female and half male because one of their parents was female and one of their parents was male. No, your gender is
the argument. RBR. Taking that dumbass argument. That is a dumb argument, RBR.
Well, that's science. And to say that science is a dumb argument is a dumb argument.
You say obviously, because you try to compare gender to race, and that's not the same. It doesn't even go.
Okay, let me tell you how it is the same. It's the same because the gender and the race is chosen at conception. Now you could lie and say, go back to the 15th century and say, oh no, the race is 10 years later, then they turn whatever race they decide gets more money, then that's what race they can become. It's not true. Your race and your gender is determined at the same time. It takes 6 weeks for zygote to attach to a woman's umbilical cord so that a woman can start giving her DNA to the child. By the time 6 weeks, the gender and the race of the baby is already determined. So to lie and say 9 months later, a black man, a black child becomes a Chinese female, no, it's not true.
RBR, let me ask you a question.
Conception.
Let me ask you a question. Back in, I think it was year 2000 or maybe it was 1999, my friends, she had the Human Genome Project on DVD. It's so long ago. It was DVD, one of them discs, and I watched the whole thing, and they debunked the whole myth of race. They said you can't. Let me finish. Let me finish. They said back then you couldn't do a DNA test, and I kept track of that.
It did determine race, but white people didn't. Idiots like they didn't like it. They didn't like the findings of the Genome Project. You can't do that with science.
RBR, let me finish.
The Genome Project does not say that, RBR. The Genome Project does not say that.
It did, and that's why they.
Drop the link. Drop the link. You lying motherfucker. Drop the link. Drop the link. Wait, RBR. I want the link to the RBR, don't give me that same dumbass link you always posted at I want the link to the Genome Project itself. Not somebody's not
Let me say what I was gonna say. I'm gonna let you lie, Psycho.
Show me the RBR. I'm questioning. You making statements. I'm questioning you.
No, it's very important.
What I'm asking you.
Important. We have to go back.
RBR. You making a dumbass statement. I'm gonna challenge you on it.
It's a dumbass statement. Okay.
RBR, show me. I get it. RBR, are you gonna stop talking? You should be finding that link and stop talking. Find that link. Find that link to that source. And I'm being very specific here. I want a link to the Genome Project. Not that dumb link. Go get the link. That dumb link you be showing me with the opinions. No, you stop. All that don't intimidate me, RBR. Now, What I
It
want,
doesn't because you're scared to stop.
RBR, I want you to cite the source of the exact genome project that you are talking about. Not that dumbass source you be giving me before where you try to break down what they saying about some genome project where you get it all wrong. I want the exact source to the genome project. That's what I want. Give me that.
He don't believe in that
Okay.
shit himself.
Now,
Bro.
Man,
This
Psycho,
nigga
you
got
know, why
he
you,
got a
Psycho,
Puerto
why you
Rican on
ask
his
him to
fucking project.
damn,
he can't provide? That's
This
cold
nigga
blooded.
sidekick is a Puerto Rican.
like the fucking Genome Project study. It was a fucking study done in 2001, and everybody in the world. It's the basis for.
I went to the website. I couldn't find it. RBR.
Shut up.
Psycho, I want to
You're the one who's writing the source. I have to break my neck to find the site. I should RBR. This is how debates work. RBR. You make a claim. You ask you to cite the source. You have to find the source.
Debates work. Debates work on facts. Shut up.
RBR, you not like how debates work all you want, but that's how debates work. You got to provide the source when you make claims. Now provide the source. Oh, you kick them? Okay.
No.
It's
Let
kind
me
of
say
funny.
this. Before everybody continue, and see, this is why people don't have you on these streams long, RBR, because you run your fucking mouth. You tell people ask you for a simple link or source. You tell them a lie and source. Not on my motherfucking channel, nigga. If you can't provide a simple document, we can sit dialogue on. Okay, but if you're gonna say a lie, no, it's like, you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna be sent to the garbage. Matter of fact, I'm gonna send you to the what do you call it? Back in Al Capone days, we're gonna send you to the fishes. That's what's gonna happen.
He take out
Thank
the
you
hard
for
facts
coming
and
on
that
the
what he
panel, yeah.
wants.
But you know, get your shit right.
Got a
brother.
whole
Hey,
Puerto
Chaos,
Rican
you're nice
on
with a
the panel every
guillotine.
fucking day. Got a
Yeah.
whole Puerto Rican over there and shit, but he want to determine who's white and who's black. Man, fuck him.
Well, Sam, you were saying earlier there's a lot of white people who fight for black people, and living on the West Coast, man, one of the craziest things that you'll see is giant, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and it'll be almost all white people at a Black Lives Matter protest trying to protest for black people. And it's the craziest thing you're ever going to see, because you're like, where's the black people? It's all white people. They really care, and they want, they want to do the right things. And it's odd because, if I'm Generation X, so Psycho understands this. When we were kids growing up, you never first of all, they didn't even have black and white people in television commercials together until like the late 90s or mid 90s. And to see like white people calling each other out for being racist on national TV, that's mind blowing to me. I'm like, what? How the hell that happened? So I think like this whole notion that America's super racist. It's racist. It's always going to have this tinge of racism, but it's dying out quickly, man. And
it boils back to the money, man. I mean, you go to a poor white community, they live just as bad. Like, I mean, I live in Columbus, Ohio, man. I mean, I met Obama twice here. 2 days before he became president, right? And during that time, I mean, they had poor whites just talking bad about Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Somalians. Like, they're telling these Africans, go and take that robe and hang yourself with. Like, they were mad because they were upset because Africans were in these communities making more money than they were. These are poor whites. I mean, they do the same shit with us, but then they start to understand black people because we all live in this economic disparity. It's a culture thing when it comes down to black and white. Just like the Freedom Riders back in the 60s. They understood the plight of black people, but at the same time, these people were ostracized by the higher up, the higher echelons of white supremacy. Even back then, I mean, they got white folks who really care, but I do feel that when it comes down to the social status, a lot of them, they're oblivious to, some of the things that black people go through. Oh, we didn't know. We didn't know that you guys went through this. They got some of them who do have morality, but I really do think that if they had the option to choose, well, okay, I'm going to be able to take and be a part of this higher class of people, they're going to fucking choose that shit, And I mean,
Right.
that's pretty much what it is. It's going to boil down to the economics. But when it comes down to like biracial people, it's the same shit, If you got a biracial person who's accepted by white society, those motherfuckers gonna go. And that's when we need to put our foot down and know they can't come back. But then you got the ones who, like I gotta say, like I know some biracial women who have white mothers and black fathers. raising single mothers and shit. We need to get on those niggas. Like, hey, you know, you left this fucking kid behind. But then that kid grows up, she gets all of these fucking tattoos. She associates herself with black culture. She finds the darkest black man to get with. You know, that's all she loves is dark-skinned black men.
I got a question.
There's plenty of them out here like
that. That's your question, real quick.
I agree with all of that. All of that.
I got like 2 questions for Sam, real quick. Short questions. Do you get down with swirling? Like, are you like, do you promote swirling? Are you anti-swirl? No. What's your position on swirling?
No, I do not promote swirling because I truly feel that I would not be able to have anything to say in the black community if I was to date out. If I decided to date out and marry out, then fair. That means I'm pro meat. I'm not pro black anymore.
All right, that's fair. But my question after that is this: then, if you why do you have a problem with swirling? Because like because my issue with swirling, because I'm anti-swirl, but my issue with swirling has to do with everything we're talking about, which is this one drop rule thing. I don't consider biracials as being black, but I never understood. I still to this day don't understand people like yourself who are anti-swirl or say they anti-swirl, but still accept these kids as being black. It's like if you still accepting these kids as being black and they all black in your eyes, why are you anti-swirl? You should be cool with the swirl. You should be cool. Man. Who cares? You know, you got one black parent, they black. Who cares? It don't matter. They creating more black babies, so love is love. Like that should be your attitude if you hold the position that these kids are black.
Because those motherfucking kids did not have a choice.
Okay, they didn't have a choice, but still, but so again, why are you anti-swirl? It don't matter. The kids are still black.
Yeah, I agree with you, but at the same time, those kids had no choice, man. It's when they start choosing sides. When they start choosing sides to what
I understand that. I understand that. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that point. I'm trying to understand why you anti-swirl though. That's not
it causes issues like this. It causes ostracism on biracial people who didn't have a choice. You know, they didn't choose. They didn't ask God to say, well, you know what? I want to be biracial. They didn't do that shit. How the fuck can we blame them?
You still not answering my question.
I am answering.
I asked you. I said, why are you anti-swirl if you considering them black? You explaining to me why you consider them black. I'm not asking you why you consider them black. I'm asking you why are you anti-swirl if you do consider them black.
It causes ostracism and it causes psychological problems on biracial people. That is why.
Oh, so you admit that the biracials are having biracials is causing confusion.
Confusion with them, not confusion with us.
Huh?
It causes confusion. Period. It causes confusion.
Right.
At the same time,
so by you admitting that that's causing confusion, by default, you are admitting that they're not black.
Look, man.
Because if they was black, it would be no confusion.
No. I do consider them black, but at the same time, you're basically saying because of this confusion, swirling should not exist. That I can agree with. But we can't.
Let me ask you guys. Can I ask you guys both a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Would you say that is it a true statement to say that there's a significant percentage of black Americans, ADOS, like ourselves, like I'm dark skinned, who feel like they get rejected by the black community?
Yeah.
Breaking up. I didn't catch all that.
Well, I was saying that, do you think it's fair to say that is it a true statement to say that there's a significant percentage of ADOS, like, born by two black parents, that they feel rejected by the black community?
Of course.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like it's not only mixed people that are conflicted and confused and feel rejected, but even black people feel rejected by black people. That's very odd, right?
That's more of a cultural thing, right? Like, cause that's more of a exactly. maybe some black kids that grew up in the suburbs around a whole bunch of white people, and they like not culturally black. They genetically black, but they're not culturally black. Like like a lot of black people probably look at them as weird and everything else. They into rock and roll or skateboards.
But you got black women who got flat booties and are skinny. They got skinny thighs.
Yeah, exactly. They're not culturally black, right? But they genetically they still are. Like, they're not confused genetically. They just confused culturally. Like the biracials are confused both. They confused culturally and genetically. They confuse both areas.
Yeah, that can happen too. And you see a lot of, I've noticed like a lot of mixed people, and this is what the guy was saying earlier. A lot of times they kind of overcompensate, and they'll say, and this is what I don't agree with. See, what I think is that mixed people shouldn't have to choose a side. Like you should be able to embrace. I wouldn't say your white side. I don't believe in that. Don't accept your white side, because the construct of whiteness is a form of tyranny. But if you accept your European ancestry, which is a whole different ball game, and you accept your Eidos tribe, and you accept those both, and you still, you're still like rooted in the Black community, I think that's a good thing. I think that's healthy, where people shouldn't have to choose a side per se, because there really shouldn't be a side. We're all Americans. We should be working together under one flag. We haven't, quite done that, the way we're supposed to. But I think ideally, in a perfect world, like that's where we're supposed to be headed, where this whole race concept, we've got our little subsets of Americans, but it shouldn't be that fiery, right? It shouldn't be that intense.
Well, it shouldn't be, but it is. I ain't make the rules to the game. I'm just trying to play it. So it's kind of like, I understand the whole concept, love our neighbor and everything else, and judge a person by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. I get all that. I subscribe to all that up to like my teen years. I subscribed to all that. I embraced all that. I thought things might be changing. I when I was younger, I thought we was in a post-racial society, and then high school happened, and all that shit came crashing down. You know what I'm saying? So, but I get the concept, and, Malcolm X had a popular quote, said, in order for ideology like humanism, he didn't say that per se, but he was speaking along those lines. But for something for like an ideology like humanism to work, you have to believe your oppressor has a heart. And I have little faith that he has a heart. So I don't think that's ever going to work. I think they're always going to view us as an underclass and treat us that way. And we can't depend on them to do anything for us. We got to start doing for ourselves and work along those lines, understanding that there is a divide there. Even though a lot of people feel like it shouldn't be because of the whole racial construct, everything else is out there, it is, but it absolutely is. I mean, like I said, over half of white women voted for Donald Trump, and that wasn't by accident. They did it because they was playing identity politics with it. Wasn't with their gender either. They was race first, not gender first. And that's what I'm saying. Like everybody else gets this. Everybody else understands this. The Asians get it. The Latinos get it. The white people get it. We don't seem to get it. We just we try to act like like we gotta work with this group and that group, everything else. But none of these other outside groups say we gotta work with Black people.
Yeah, that's true.
The
Black and Brown Coalition doesn't work on our behalf.
Who feel the hint of white supremacy too, who feel the same sentiments. Shout out to them. There's a lot of them who agree that white supremacy exists, and they don't fuck with white folks either. Shout out to them, man. So, but I feel you. I feel where you coming from, man. I mean, because same thing with with a Black person gets with an Asian woman, the Asians, or Asians is not a race, but just say, Black and Filipino. Filipinos is not claiming that kid as being a full-blooded Filipino. They all considered half Black or mixed or whatever. Like, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if they're white. It doesn't matter if they're Korean and Black or Russian and Black. They still fall into that one drop rule. So I guess the one drop rule is, what is it? Or is Black so pure? Is the DNA of Black people so pure that they're Black? Just that one drop makes it so strong that they are Black? Or is it just the fact that you have one drop of Black, then you're not considered pure? Like, which one is it?
Well, the thing is, with the one drop rule, it was never really about skin color to begin with. You could always be a light, it's always been that way. So, I don't think the one drop rule can really go anywhere. And I don't know that doing anything with it helped. Like, let's just say you said, if you don't have two Black parents, you're not Black anymore. Does that help anything? Or, how does that help it? I don't see how that helps.
It just helps. It helps. It believe it or not, does help. Because again, I explained the whole racial dynamic as far as of having pride and identifying who's who, because identity is important. But you also, like, a lot of these statistics and everything else, a lot of people be throwing around. A lot of these statistics involve biracials that they are just counting as black, and these things are skewing the numbers a lot. It's a whole, it was a whole, excuse me, Dad, I'm losing my train of thought. There was a whole layout that I had did a couple of years ago where I was breaking this whole thing down. And it was a project. It's another project that I'm working on where I'm gonna break this down even more as far as like the importance of why this is why we need to dead this whole thing in our community, the effects of it. There's a whole bunch of trickle down effects from this whole one drop rule that people don't even really understand and break down. I touched on it a little bit in another stream I did a couple of years ago, but I need to revamp that and present it again, a better presentation. But,
yeah, you should, and present with visuals. So you get to see it.
But yeah, it's a whole laundry list of things that like trickle down effects. Like, like like as far as like anything that's groundbreaking that's going to affect us overnight, no. But the trickle down effect, yes, you will see the difference in certain aspects. And we just got to change our way of thinking. We got to change this whole. We got to start challenging certain societal norms. Black people are so comfortable, and we just so comfortable with these societal norms that aren't really beneficial to us, and we're scared to challenge a lot of it. And whenever people start talking about trying to do certain things a little bit different, it's kind of like we kind of get looked at as like crazy, a little off, like a little too radical, whatever the case may be. But I mean, they say the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I'm not trying to be insane. I'm tired of black people looking insane. I wanted to try some different shit. I think it's things that we did not try that we need to approach a certain type of way. And I
respect your position for that very reason, because you have concrete ideas. You do it in a civil. You talk about this in a civil way, and you sound educated on the subject. So I definitely respect your position.
Yeah, I did a lot of studying on this, and let's not forget in the Haitian Revolution, when the Haitian Revolution started, the first thing they did was cut the mulattoes off and got rid of them because they knew they was compromised. As a matter of fact, they was the main problem on the island because they was sitting up there. They was laid up and they was in bed with the oppressors.
Right.
And, they was living the best on the island. So the first thing they did was cut them off because they knew they was compromised. And
you know what they did after the war? After Toussaint, after they won the war, they said everybody's black. There are no, like, everybody is black. If you're white, you're still black. If you're mulatto, you're still black. Everybody's black.
Yeah, but Toussaint was a mulatto, wasn't he?
Toussaint Louverture was French.
It's kind of hard to tell because all I see is like.
Find a Bad Day was one of his head generals. Dessalines.
Dessalines, yeah.
Everything was cold-blooded and dark skin.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But they don't have white people in Haiti. They wrote that into the Constitution that no matter what your skin tone was, you're a black person in Haiti, which was very revolutionary. And that's amongst that same line of thinking. And I think and I look at that like, the problem, with the concept of blackness and whiteness is that it's like this inherent conflict, right? It's like night and day, white versus black. And really, we don't need to be competing with one another in that way. Now you have your white supremacists. They're going to be around. They're still here. It looks like we got one in the White House. And most certainly like a guy like Stephen Miller, he's a white supremacist. So they're out here. And so, I look at this, I say, well, if you have white supremacists, does it behoove ADOS? Does it help ADOS to continue to hold on to the phrase being black? Like, why be black if you're in a former white supremacist colony? Shouldn't we be ADOS? Shouldn't we be something else?
Well, ADOS are black people. It's just a certain sector of black people because black people is exclusive to just Americans.
Right.
You know, well, some people hold that position. I don't. You know, black people is global. You know, we
Hell
just
no.
then you got the ADOS, which is black people in this country.
Mhm.
You know, like you know, white people don't distinguish themselves based on nation as far as like, well, they do, but they still consider themselves white.
Here in America, you're right.
Right, like you got American European, you got American white dude, and you got a white dude from Britain.
Yeah.
They still look at themselves as white. They just one's from Britain and one's from America. That's just, you know, the same shit.
They look at themselves as British. They look at themselves as Russian.
Yeah, nationality. They'll separate themselves based on nationality, and I'm cool with. Like, I do that.
But for us, it's different because we
but
don't
they still
know.
consider themselves white though, genetically. Genetically,
we don't know where we're from. We don't know where we're from over there. Those Africans, they can come over here and say, "Yeah, you know, I'm from I'm South America.
You ain't one of these
Ghana.
indigenous
I'm
dudes, are you?
Guinea." You know, they can say that.
You ain't one of these indigenous dudes, are
You
you?
cannot do that. And it wasn't white people who said, "Oh, they're black." It was us who said this shit. It was James Brown, like, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." Before that, it was like, "No colors allowed." You know what I'm saying? We created that shit. Why the fuck do y'all let them niggas take that shit from us? Why the fuck y'all get this shit to them? Now we gotta go to ADOS now. Because now you got everybody else talking about, "Oh, I'm black."
Well, ADOS has to do
too.
with nationality. That has to do with nationality, not whether or not a person's black. That has to do with nationality. Man. That's a little bit different argument.
Red, black, and green, man. I mean, you got a mask that's red, black, and green.
Right. And that red, black, and green is Pan-African. And the whole concept behind Pan-Africanism is global blackness.
When I look at that shit, I look at it as black people who came from slave ancestry, who came from the continent of Africa, whether they were in Jamaica, whether they went to South America, whether they came here to North America. Then we don't know where the fuck we from. So we got our own flag. And that's what it is.
Right. Yeah, I'm not arguing that. Yeah, but we all black though. I'm saying we all black. That's the purpose of Pan-Africanism. That's the purpose of Pan-Africanism and repping the RBG. But again, we talking genetics with that. But then you got nationalities, because within the Pan-African shit, you got a whole bunch of different nationalities. Right. You know, you got the Haitians, you got Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Africans, motherfuckers out in London, wherever you may be globally. You know, they all fall under the Pan-African banner. But again,
we not fucking with people who can represent two flags.
What happened?
If we're black and we ADOS here, a lot of us, we don't represent the American flag. We associate the American, right?
The only flag I represent is the RBG. That's me. You know, that's the only flag I represent. But I do understand that I'm from this country and I am ADOS. You know, both my parents come from slavery. But you know, a lineage comes from slavery. So, you know, like, yeah, I'm ADOS and a motherfucker. So yeah, I get it. You know, that like I said, within Pan-Africanism, we have this one flag that we all united under. And then we all have separate flags that all falls under this one banner.
Can I ask you guys another question?
Yes.
So you guys are aware of the history of race. Like when the Irish came over from Europe, they weren't considered white. You know, no Irish applied.
They wasn't white at one point.
They wasn't white. Italians weren't white. Jews weren't white. Right.
Italians.
So, do you think it's possible, despite the stigma of having dark skin, that the culture can shift? Maybe not in our lifetimes, but the culture can shift where something happens in the way time evolves, and the way culture evolves, where black people, probably not 100%, but let's just say like 90%, we're considered white, where you're not seen as black with black skin and connected to the legacy of slavery and civil rights because time has passed. You think that's possible?
The trends got to go first.
Nah,
the negative trends got to go. The fucking trends got to go. And all of this shit about black people looking cool, all of this shit about, we got the best swag. We got to get a trend to somebody else. Once we do that, then yeah, we can focus on the money. We can focus on building our reputation, and then we'll be okay. Then we'll be in that class.
What's wrong with the trends? What do you mean the trends, like the sagging and gang banging? What do you mean?
Everything that makes black people look cool.
I see.
Yeah, that's a different argument. Yeah. I don't think it'll ever change. Me personally, I don't think it'll ever change.
Niggas ain't trying to get that shit up.
But traditionally, humans throughout the course of history has always been tribal. We've always been tribal humans, and I'm just not just talking black people. I'm talking human beings. They've always been tribal with motherfuckers, and that's never going to change. A quick example: they don't even do this with their own people because if you're familiar with Australia and the history of Australia and how Australia actually came about, Australia used to be a land of exile.
Yeah,
you know,
the
UK used to ship all their criminals out to Australia.
America too, and the Caribbean.
Right, just exile them on the island and everything, and they actually got to the point where they just developed their own culture over there, and they just became a nation of their own. But they're a nation of criminals. They're a nation of criminals. That whole island is that whole country was built up on white pookies, right? A bunch of white pookies took that country over and killed off all the indigenous people that was living there and kind of just made it their own nation.
Yeah,
they still get called criminals. The UK still calls them criminals to this day. They still call them all a bunch of ancestors of criminals and thugs and all this other everything else. They still clown the shit out of them. They still look at as white trash and everything else as far as the Europeans go, because they know where their ancestors came from. So they don't get a whole lot of respect from the Europeans over there and this, that, and the third. So like that's what I'm saying. Like these stigmas stick with people. You know, so I don't think.
Look at it in Hollywood too about Australia. Like you know, you think of Australia and you think of fighting a kangaroo so you could graduate high school. Like that's part of your high school program is kangaroo boxing, or what was that? Crocodile Dundee, and he's like this dirty. He's damn near orange because he's so sunburnt, drinking all the time. Looks fucked up and makes a major. I mean, this is a big hit in America, and that it's like, is that how we want to look at Australia?
I mean, but that's what it is. You know, it's motherfuckers who couldn't pay their tax debt in the UK, you know, robbers and thieves and murderers. Yeah, they were all sent to Australia. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now here's a story too.
Same thing with the Irish and the Italians. They were ostracized too.
Right. You know? Like, so England, they beat the shit out of Ireland, like during the potato famine. And then they shipped a bunch of Irish people down in the Caribbean. So if you ever hear Caribbean people, like some of these Jamaicans or like down in, there's an island called Mazaret. A lot of these guys, they sent like an Irishman who speaks English and a Jamaican who speaks English. They kind of sound similar. And that's because they were both slaves at the same time. And now in Mazaret, you could go on YouTube and watch the video. In Mazaret, it's all like 99.9% black, and they celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And it's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing.
Bruh, man, yeah, you're a smart dude, man. Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that? Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, I saw that. That tripped me out too, to see Jamaicans, white Jamaicans out there doing it. Yeah, man, you're right. They were sent out there. Man, that is awesome. Wow. Continue, man. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I just look at that and I'm like, that was just one of the oddest things. I was in the Caribbean and I had heard of that before because I knew a guy. He was actually an Irishman, and he was a Black Studies major who went to college with my mom. So he was my mom's friend, but he was an Irishman, and for some reason he took Black Studies. I guess he didn't care about making money, and so he was telling me these stories about Ireland. So I started, about that connection between Ireland and America. And so when I was doing more research on that, I was like, holy shit, that's like a whole thing down there, and we don't hear about that up here. But I just think the way culture shifts like that, we don't know what's in store with us. I just look at this. Like the mixed people, I think to me, it seems like we should include them because they can help us. We don't want to ostracize them just because they're mixed. If we could get them on board with ADOS and they can work with us and they can be agents of change, I think they can help us. But from time to time, you might meet a mixed person and they're self-hating. They don't want to even acknowledge their black half, and that kind of fucks you up a little bit.
Yeah, there's a reason why. But I mean, you mentioned Jamaica. We mentioned Jamaica, man. Shout out to Bob Marley, another biracial brother.
That's right. Yeah.
Psychopathies. I know you fucks with Bob Marley, right?
Who?
Bob Marley, man. Come on.
Oh, what about Bob Marley? What about him?
What do you think about Bob Marley? He was a biracial brother.
I mean, he made good music. I don't think he ain't black. He had a white father, but he wasn't black, but he made good music.
Put it down for the cause, though.
Like I said, you know, biracials have helped us in the past, and he's one of the older biracials too that I was talking about earlier. Like I said, biracials from back then, it was had a different mindset than the biracials that's coming up today in this quote unquote post-racial era. So you know, it's a little bit they got way different mindset than the biracials. Biracials back then, they deemed themselves as black. The community seen themselves as black, and they will fight hard.
They didn't have a choice.
Yeah, today these biracials, they really don't care too much about race. They kind of very lackadaisical about it. You know, kind of like, you know, it's not really, you know, I'm mixed with everything, you know. So, you know, like they're very passe about it. You know, these mainly 90 babies and 2000s and everything else. Like they just don't see it. They don't understand.
It can go back to that, man. We just got to make black be the shit again. You know, we got to change those reputations.
Yeah,
all right.
black excellence.
Hello.
Because it's not just like it's not just mixed people. Just millennials in general, they don't really care. They didn't have they don't understand the racial experience that they've had. Like, you know, I think we're all Generation Xers. I mean, we've seen a whole lot of fucking racism. I mean, a whole lot of racism. And, you know, we're, you know, this generation that came into a country that said, you know, basically racism's over. And then you come out into the world and it's like, hell no, it ain't over. And then you kind of become obsessed with race because on one end, they're telling you it doesn't exist, but then your own two eyes are telling you different. So you got to kind of study it and understand it. Well, these millennials, they didn't feel that racism like we did. They feel it, but they don't know they felt it. They got their little nigga wake up call with Black Lives Matter, seeing these dead bodies on TV. But I think that that, you know, you hope that millennials don't give up the fight for racial justice because you know, Generation Xers, we ain't nobody, man. It's only like 1 million of us. Like we're a tiny, you know, maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6 million or something, a small generation. So if millennials don't try to make a social impact in that way, you know, you just wonder if things would ever change.
All right, let me speak. Let me check chat room 1 second. Do I get one look? Okay. All right, this is what I'm gonna do. But we already passed my normal limit time. I like to thank everybody. Wait, before I end, I'm gonna say this. In regards to this one drop rule, it is what it is. That's my perspective. For people that didn't get my perspective, go back to replay on this. But at the end of the day, black man, black woman, we gotta get power. Once we're in power position, then we could define who is who's who. I mean, cut this nonsense because this ain't gonna work, especially under their program and their paradigm, especially this country, or where if there's still white domination. But thank everybody for listening for tonight's stream. Be on the lookout for the premiere and other things on Chaos Reign channel. Please comment at the end of this video or any other previous videos I have on my channel, and subscribe and like. And you know, there's the Cash App there on every video. You'll see it in the chat room, and I might put it in the description. But on that, let's get us.